Now the rise of freedom. As you may know, our cameras have been following the rebuilding at the World Trade Center site for months now. And recently I got a really very special chance to go to a place where, man, that day just comes back in a way that was difficult, frankly. A kind of time capsule of 9/11, one that will soon open for the world to see.
These were vehicles that were destroyed on September 11th. You know, this was somebody's car that was parked in the garage. This was one of the FDNY's trucks.
This is someone had responded to this site.
These were first responders.
Bill Baroni is Deputy Executive Director for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. He's guiding us through Hangar 17 at JFK Airport. For years, it's been home to many of the things left behind after the attacks of 9/11.
This bike rack and the bikes were found during the recovery process, and you can see they've been chained since that morning.
This, a piece of the North Tower's antenna. Engines that moved elevators and train cars are just a few of the artifacts under this roof.
It was the most documented day in history at the time, the most photographed, and I guess now maybe it's going to be the best preserved.
Well, certainly the amount of effort that's gone in almost immediately after the attacks to preserve what happened, to preserve the physical artifacts of what happened, not to let them be lost to history, so that 75 or 100 years from now, a historian says, well, you know, I wish they had kept, fill in the blank. This is ladder 3, but you can see just the absolute damage that took place.
12 members of ladder 3 were killed on 9/11. The National September 11th Memorial, with waterfalls marking the footprints of the Twin Towers, is scheduled to open on the 10th anniversary of the attacks. As planned, the museum displaying these vehicles and other items will open 1 year later.
This was a ladder of a fire truck.
It really is sort of symbolic, if not almost a metaphor, for how twisted a reality that day was. No one could process what that day felt like. No one could process that smell. Nobody could process what he or she was seeing. Just as you can't really process a ladder that's made of solid steel that's twisted in this way. It was just...
You see this and you say, what amount of force was needed to do this to these things?
Yeah, and those who weren't alive on that day, 100 years from now, will get a sense as a result of this.
They will see it. You will always be able to point to physical things. Not only be able to point to the memories of the family, which is the most important, the people that we lost that day, but you're going to be able to point forever to this steel that was never made to look like this.
It's all very personal. You know, I wouldn't have thought when I came here that this would feel personal. But you remember that time, not just that day, but that time and those feelings. And I wonder if that still happens to you after all these months.
No matter how many times you come out here, no matter how many times you walk past the steel, how many times you walk past the path car, there were real lives here. There were families that were never complete again after that day. And this, you know, it looks like piles of steel, and it's got markings on it, and they're going to communities and artifacts, and these were people's lives.
Preserving what was left so that we never forget. We took some pictures during our tour of Hangar 17 at JFK. You can see them at our website, foxnews.com/freedom. You can also watch the entire series there and see web exclusives, footage you won't see here inside the TV. We'll have another story about the rise of freedom every Thursday for years to come here on Fox Report.